sure how many of you were here last time. Not too many, I don't think. I don't know if you recall Bill Nichthauser, who was one of our earliest people to get involved with this committee back when School 16 closed, and we started pulling together to get it updated and reopened. Bill unfortunately died last month, so it's for my wife and I in particular, we used to go out frequently, and he was just such a wonderful person. It's a real loss, and I think for the whole community, people who knew him, he'd always get some little levity into the situation that got people smiling. And he volunteered in the schools to teach music. He was in PACTAC. He was in the group that went around after some police incident to talk to neighborhood people to make sure everybody was weathering the storm well. And he worked a lot with the neighborhood association office. He's just a great guy, and we're going to miss him very much. We'll have a remembrance ceremony for him towards the end of June. His sisters live out in Cleveland, so they have a lot of things on their plate right now, and they're going to get things going.
Yeah, how do you spell his last name?
Nichthausser. Nichthausser, I think. It's on the list there that's going around. But so he was a great guy. We will miss him. I think at this point we might as well start off with introductions. There are several people who've said they'll be here yet, but let's get things going, and we'll start off right here.
I am Paula Gibbons, and I am a veteran teacher at School 16.
16?
Yep.
I am Jeff Sciortino, and I'm the PTSO president for Wilson High School, and I'm also on school-based planning there, and I'm a mentor for the XCATS robotics team from Wilson.
Great.
Okay, what was your name?
Jeff Sciortino.
Well, how do you spell the last name?
S as in Sam, C as in cat, Iortino.
And Betsy, if you would introduce yourself.
I'm Betsy Robinson. I live in the neighborhood. Actually, I'm a former student of School 16, and I've been away, and I'm glad to be back.
Elyette Clyburn, I'm the new community school coordinator for School 3.
School.
Oh, okay.
Is that still over near Clarissa Street?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Adams Street.
Adams. It's right next to the Adams Street Center there. Okay.
Travis Miller with the Rochester Schools Modernization Program.
Hi, Travis.
I'm John with Rochester Public Library. Eleanor Coleman, Prosper Rochester, and Youth Build.
And I'm Steve Rebholz with SWBR. We're the architects for Derwin Walton Spencer School 16.
What's the name of the architect firm?
The architecture firm is SWBR. 4 letters, SWBR.
SWBR, and that stands for something.
Starks, Wurzer, Benetti, Romeo. But it now stands for SWBR.
You're the architect.
I'm the architect, yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
he's the man who supplied us all those beautiful posters that we've
Oh,
been
I
using.
remember.
And you can see them on the picture on the
That's right.
little flyer there.
I recognize my porch chair.
How many schools has your firm done in modernization?
And the modernization of we've done one other in the modernization program in Phase 1, Enrico Fermi 17.
Oh, okay, it looks nice.
17?
17, that's correct.
That's up near Grape Street, right?
Yes, Orchard and Orange. Section.
Can we ask questions about the school, or you want to wait, John?
Yeah, we've got, if you look at the agenda there,
Okay.
we'll try to quickly go through the schools because we've got a lot of discussion for number 12 there, preparation for Square Fair, and that's for the under 16. We'll have a slideshow to look at.
Okay.
So, school number 3, we had,
Is that you?
That is correct.
yes, previously Gail Evans had been representing the neighborhood there for 3, but here today we have Elyette Clyburn.
That's correct.
Why don't you give us a little rundown of what's the latest information for school number 3?
There's not a whole lot that's happening as of yet. I'm less than a month new in the position. The most updated thing that we have, we met with the architect team regarding when the phases will roll out. That's been the latest activity as far as renovations and stuff, but also on my end, I've just been looking at needs assessments for our students and then rolling out the needs assessments. And other than that, that's been our activity.
Okay. Yeah, we'll, if do you think you'll be able to join us more on a monthly basis to keep us in touch?
I think so.
That'd be great. Okay, love that. Thank you. And school 10, I don't think we have anybody from school 10 today. You'll school? Ah, good man.
And you are,
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
The Rochester Schools Modernization Program.
and you're Robert?
Travis.
Travis Miller.
So school 10, we have had a little bit of a delay from what our plan was a few months ago. Originally, the idea in relation to the sequence of schedule was that it was going to be a project that was going to be completed at the end of 2019. And depending on the school's district's decision as to whether they would take habitation of it after the winter break, mid-year, or wait until the end of the school year and take it in the autumn of 2020. Then we got a idea that perhaps we would be able to accelerate that and reduce the amount of time that those kids would have to be in swing space. So we adjusted our sales to try to put in an aggressive schedule whereby we could complete it in a year of construction and they could take possession of it in September 2019. However, we've run into a snag in relation to smart bond funds.
So what did you do?
Smart bond funding in the amount of about $2.3 million to come from the state. And with those funds not in hand, the thought was it would be more responsible to go back to our original schedule. And because there are other schools also that are being affected by this snag of smart bond funding. And so now the plan is to put it out to bid after late summer, early fall, and have it as a school that could be still completed around the turn of the year in 2020. But right now the school district's policy is not to move any schools into a new facility mid-year. That's their policy now. So if they stand with that, then the school would be occupied September 2020.
So you'd be starting the work on it at what time?
In the fall,
In the fall of
yes,
2018?
yes.
Okay, so,
Mhm.
It's
All
gonna
right.
take them 2 years?
Well, the disadvantage with starting it then is for the amount of demolition that is going to be occurring, which is the first phase on most of these projects, including that. So when you now encounter winter season, when you're trying to do those type of demolition abatement work, and then the necessity to create an envelope to enable work that won't be as adversely affected if it's a harsh winter. That's the downside. But again, it doesn't prevent the school from being able to be completed in time for the fall of 2020. It would provide ample time doing it that way.
And we can't do it in July because of the bond issue? The
Correct.
smart bonds? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Who the bond issue, is that something that people deal with, or just the school system or the state?
The state. Steve might want to talk to it a little bit better, his knowledge of.
Sure. So it's a component of the funding. A majority of the funding is coming through the Rochester Joint School Construction Board. But this component is coming from the state to the Rochester City School District, and then the Rochester City School District took a portion and identified it for these buildings. A portion of it is to address the removal of transportable classrooms and construction of new classrooms, and also making sure that there's a pre-K classrooms as part of that. So what happened is you have these two sources of funding that have two different approval entities. One approval entity is the State Education Department Office of Facilities Planning, and then there's a different approval entity in the State Education Department that approves the smart bond. You need both of those approvals in order for the project to go forward. The State Education Department Office of Facilities Planning has kind of given the building permit, but they said it's contingent upon this other part of their agency approving the smart bond plan, which includes not only work at Cooper School 10, but all sorts of other things that the district has applied for, primarily related to technology and technology in classrooms. So that other entity, and I'm not sure which entity it was, their approval is pending. Facilities planning approval is contingent upon this other agency's approval, and as of today, that approval has not been granted yet. So the project cannot go forward until that other part of state ed approves this plan. And they've been at it for a long time, I think, right, Travis?
Yes, yes.
It's not that they didn't try. I think this has been going on for a while, months and months and months, to try to get this approval.
I was under the impression there was a whole lump sum of money set aside for the school, all the school's renovation. Is that all used up?
No.
But there are components of the work at Cooper School that deal with, that have to do with the removal of transportable classrooms, the portables, and the construction of new classrooms to replace those. And a portion of the funds allocated for this are coming from the smart bond, not from the big pot of money that is the joint, under the control of the Joint School Construction Board and the various approvals that they're going through. So it's a separate agency that applied for it, the Rochester City School District, and it's a separate part of state ed that's responsible for approving it, but it has to do with construction work that needs to be done together at the building. And I think, there were some enhancements to the plan that was able to fund. Similar to it at Spencer School 16, the reason that there's a gymnasium that was able to be built is related to smart bond funding.
And even though there's money that is set aside for it, you can't put it out to bids until you actually have all the funding secured? That's the issue?
That you can't start the work. Right.
You don't want to end up like the hotel.
We're showing our age, yeah.
Something like that.
Or the one downtown.
Something like that.
Yeah, the 10 was going to have the community center
Right.
basically built into it, just like 16 had. They liked
That
it.
was not part of the original funding.
Yeah.
The original funding didn't include the smart bond. It didn't include that community center aspect.
Mhm.
So that enhancement, part of the ability to achieve that was through the district's agreement to allocate a portion of funding. And I think Travis said 2.3 million? 2.3 million. So it's significant funding to support that. But unfortunately, that funding comes with the requirement that the overall plan be approved. And as of today, that overall plan is not approved, so the construction work can't go forward.
Okay, are we having another community center up there?
At 10, yeah, the old 37. That'll be
How come, how come we're having two community
Hey.
centers?
you'd like it within easy walking distance of the kids, in the community.
There's enough kids on both ends.
Yeah.
There's enough
Okay.
family on both ends to serve two community centers.
Okay.
Easy.
Yeah.
One complaint I heard was, well, why is that school so big? That's 16. And I said, well, I haven't been here, I can't give you an answer to that.
Yeah, the community center at each of the schools, you'd like to have something where after school, you can have after school programs. Quad A would be able to work out of school 16. Community center very nicely, and then tutoring and things like that. And then there's, going to the gym and recreation,
Which we don't have.
which we didn't have before because the gym was closed, because everything, the gym used to be right in the middle of
That's
School
right.
16. So the new community center will allow, assuming we can get some people to attend the community center, we'll be able to keep it open so that it can be used by the community, be it for gym, or if somebody is gonna, 19th Ward Community Association wants to have their convention, they could do it there.
Well, what about City Rec, which we talked about? Do we know anything about that?
Well, hopefully we'll get some final words on that. We had heard that, and we had one of the City Rec folks, the fellow who was at Roxy Sinkler Center, was kind of coordinating with us for a few months, and they were going to have the Flint Street Center closing for a year for renovations, and they were going to send that staff over to 16.
That's not City Rec, though.
Yeah,
It is?
yeah, Flint Street Center.
Okay.
And then there was a change that it was going to be people from the Adams Street Center that were going to be freed up at that time. And then the latest, I'm not sure. We haven't gotten an
Why
exact.
can't we have our own group? Why do we have to,
Well, if you want to,
we have to borrow from somebody else?
got some spare cash to hire some folks?
Well, I thought that's what our taxes did, John.
Well, yeah, well, in case you haven't noticed, we're usually short on funding for just about everything.
In the city.
Schools or the city's in tough shape,
I don't know
There
why.
are there are caps on how much you can have for taxes, and even if you didn't have a cap, you drive people away if you keep raising the taxes.
Oh, yeah.
What we need is more rich folks in the city, and we get those by having better schools so that people want to stay in the city when they have kids.
But we need to
there's
get the PR out.
yeah.
That's my thing.
There's a catch-22 here in trying to improve schools and get more money for schools. You need to have people stay in the city. So, and next we got School 16. Okay, what's going on at School 16?
We're waiting for boxes.
Waiting for boxes.
Now, this is the principal?
No, I'm just a teacher.
Well, that's it.
Not just.
Not just. You're where the rubber meets the road.
And your name was?
Paula Gibbons.
Paula? Given?
Gibbons, Givens.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I am one of the veteran teachers. And it was Miss Roberts.
Yeah, what is the latest over there? I know they went through a principal selection committee.
Yes. The school-based planning team interviewed for principals over there.
Mm-hmm.
And we made our selection known. Now it's up to the Board of Education.
Okay, so
Is it this Monique Silas Lee?
No,
No.
that's school 19.
Oh, that's nice. So we have nobody.
Well, right now,
Carla Roberts?
Right now, Carla
Carla
Roberts
Roberts
is
is
the
still
acting
there, yeah.
principal. Yeah.
she's been the acting principal for 2 years now, I
Yeah.
think.
But she's not now permanent. She's
No.
They're still looking for a permanent one?
Well, they have to hire a permanent. Supposedly you're not supposed to be an acting principal for 2 years, but it happened.
Where have they been that they haven't been interviewing? I mean, as a taxpayer, why not? Not you. Don't you think
But
they
we as school-based planning team, we asked to interview for a permanent.
That's great. But you're just starting to interview?
No, they have.
No, we already
they have
interviewed.
interviews.
We finished
But
already.
they haven't let you know?
No.
Why not?
So you don't know what the outcome of the vote was?
Well, the board, I believe, is meeting tomorrow.
Okay,
And so
so we'll
there may be
maybe,
an
Is
announcement.
They'll
this
give
the
it a
Board of
blessing, okay.
16?
No, the Board of Education.
So
But-
who do we-
School board.
those
The school board.
those assignments have to end up going
There
through the
first.
board.
Yeah.
So the recommendation's been made,
The recommendation, well,
but we won't know the outcome until the board
Absolutely.
votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think that's going to be tomorrow?
There's a board meeting tomorrow,
hopefully.
yeah.
Will you let John know?
Yes. Yep. As soon as
Hopefully I'll get down there, but
Wait. Yeah, thank you, because, I mean, I think we should meet with that principal, whoever it is.
Whoever
Don't
it
you?
is,
Yeah.
yeah. And teachers as well.
Yes, right.
yeah, we were hoping to have community input, but then we found out about it 2 days before the school-based planning was meeting. I was in Arizona. John could only attend part of one of the meetings, so,
Yeah.
oh well.
Well,
Okay,
that's going to be on the agenda next month then?
yeah, we'll report on what we're learning, and we'll see what gives. And hopefully, if you can encourage your principal to come to Square Fair and as many teachers.
She should be on her way. She's running a little.
Yeah, and
Can we send flyers out to the teachers, John?
I've sent a lot of information out already, so hopefully we'll, by the time June 2nd for Square Fair comes, we'll have some people lined up to go around. The thing that I would like to see happen there, well, we'll get into Square Fair later.
Okay. Have we now had the update on 16?
No.
No, we're continuing.
So the status of the project is that it is on schedule. As you know, the plan says that the school has to be completed in August so that the kids can be ready to start their new school year immediately after Labor Day. In conjunction with that, we are planning to do a presentation to the school population at Freddie Thomas School. So we will be doing a presentation to share with them very much of the same, some of the things we're going to show you this evening, and build their anticipation for what they're going to be getting. The schedule of operations is rigorous. It is occurring 6 days a week. There is work on Saturdays, and that is also one of the factors that does play into why the idea of touring on Square Fair would not be advisable.
Yeah, but we would just go to specific. Do
Let's listen to the
I would ask
presentation.
you to please,
you want me to wait?
yeah, please, because pictures we're going to show you will give you a good insight as to what is represented there in the building.
I could also just add on, if it's okay, Travis, that those that were, on the building advisory committee will remember that at one point, the occupancy of this building was going to be delayed 1 year. And the joint board, and with the support of the district and some smart bond funding that was directed to this building, did a couple of things. One, they allowed the gymnasium to be built in the position that it's built so that you can have it available for after-hours use, along with 3 classrooms and the cafeteria. And secondly, they accelerated the schedule. So this project is a project that should take more like 18 months, and they accelerated it to 14 months. Now, those 14 months are going to take us right up until August, when the furniture is going to be moving in. And as Anna said, it's 6 days a week, and it's also 2 shifts on, I think, 5 days a week. So to be able to clean something up so that you can have guests in who are not workers in hard hats and appropriate clothes would be a distraction from getting the job done, and that would actually cost more money.
And be
So
dangerous.
if we told them that they couldn't work on a Saturday, that would be a potential additional claim, because we've already told them they have to work on a Saturday. So now if we said, time out, guess what, you can't work, there would be cost involved. And it would start to put this very tight schedule at risk. So in order to make things go faster, there had to be commitment to do that. Commitment on the part of the contractors and having the labor available to do this. Now, to say to that labor, you're not going to be able to work today, or you have to work somewhere else where then you were planning on working, would simply not work. So, and I think, Travis, you'll probably show some photos that show the amount of construction equipment and materials that are in play inside the building here.
The bluish gray represents, of course, the new additions. Here on the lower right, pre-K wing, and at the left, the gymnasium. This was the site plan, and the purple represents the new construction area. The gray in the top left corner is the parking lot.
$600 total, roughly, is the planned enrollment.
Is that what we had before?
Planned enrollment, I think, roughly now. Roughly 580, 600. Do you know how many are enrolled now?
For the middle pre-K, and we're pre-8 now, so
Right.
we're at about a little under 600 now.
Okay.
So when we turn, it'll probably be about 300 to 400.
Well, we're not having eighth grade there.
No.
Pre-K through
But we've
sixth
got
grade.
pre-K.
Pre-K. the 8th grade goes somewhere else. Where's that?
High school.
Oh, is that at high school? No, middle school.
Nope.
Depends on where they go. There's still some schools that have 7 and 8 included, but otherwise, like East is 6th grade through.
I don't know where that, we should ask this, but what about security? Do we know? I mean, every day it seems I open the paper and there's,
Yeah,
We have one security officer, we have one school safety officer.
one officer. Is
Are
that
you
what
the
you've got now?
principal?
I'm the acting principal now.
Well, good. But I mean, one security officer, is that enough?
Yeah, I think so. I think it should be enough.
Yeah.
One thing to remember is, other than at arrival and dismissal, all visitors will come to one single point of entry. The door is locked. They have to announce themselves through the, through the intercom. They're then put into like a little lobby area where there would be further screening. They would check into the main office. So you can't just come and go in the building during the day. The perimeter is locked. Security cameras are all around the exterior of the building, and all visitors will have to go on one entrance. So even though the building has multiple exits, all visitors have to go to the main entrance, which is right adjacent to the main office.
Well, that's kind of how it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
But without the security precautions.
Yes, and then there is a school safety officer.
I mean, it just makes, I can't believe going to school and being shot. I mean, the whole thought, it's crazy. Well,
Yeah, it seems to be a trade-off between some people who want to have less police in the schools
Right.
because invariably some kids get arrested and are on their way to jail eventually.
in the school, they get arrested?
Oh, sure. So if you don't have the officers there who are real police officers to arrest kids, you spare some kids going down the wrong road.
So there won't be any police officers?
No, is the
No,
officer? He's not a police officer.
Just a
Good.
school safety officer.
You just said one school safety?
Yes,
What if he gets sick?
we have to get a sub.
We'll call you, Betty. You'll.
With my cane, right?
That's right.
Sorry. But you know what I mean? We need those flyers.
Well,
Yeah.
you should understand, you're not the only neighborhood association that we do this at. Shantae and I, we did, I think, 3 in the past month or so with the Monroe High. We were up at Maplewood, up at Aquinas Institute on School 7. So
Aquinas, you mean?
Aquinas. So we do this wherever there are neighborhoods that are directly affected or have schools in that program that are under construction to inform them. And then, of course, also go to the school populations themselves. So that way if there's PTO events, and the parents can come and see also at those venues what's going on in the schools that their kids are going to be.
And this is being video recorded. Everything he's saying is on video, which goes on location 19, which he also makes links to. So when I put them in my email distribution list that goes out to 450 people, I can put that link in there and people can just open it up and see the whole presentation.
But what about those people that don't come to meetings?
Well,
So that's where
if
the
you get
flyers-
around to
That's
using
right.
the links I send you all the time,
That's right.
that you never click on,
That's
know.
right.
Because I don't know how to do some of that stuff, John.
Yeah, social media is something that RSMP we also use. So Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you are not, we would encourage you to be on one of those 3, whichever is your preference, because what we will be doing, especially now as we ramp up in the summer, is posting at least 2 or 3 pictures every day on our social media sites. So that way what you're seeing here was from a couple of weeks ago, but you'll be able to see much more updated pictures that we're going to be continuing as these schools reach the
Do
finish.
you have a site that you could just pull up on your computer?
The website, we have the rsmpnews.net, and I'll give you my card with that website address on it, so you can have that.
My concern is that the playground is adequate. And so far I haven't seen that, but maybe you think it is adequate. I think we don't have a lot of playgrounds around here. So there needs to be space for the kids, and that's where I
Well,
don't want,
that's the playground as it is now.
but that's too small, John.
I agree with your assessment, but that's one of the challenges with urban schools. Some have a little more generous space than others, but it is a challenge. It's,
Well, see, that's where I think too much is placed about the teachers parking. But the teachers had to have a place to park, like they parked on the street, just like they do at 44.
Well, I've mentioned several times there are some empty lots across Post Avenue from there that you could, if you bought those, you could make parking lots out of them, but
Yes,
No?
you sort of did that in Rico Fermi, right? The parking lots across the street, part of it?
Rico Fairmead. They did acquire property, or the city acquired property through whatever means they
Yeah.
acquired it, and then additional parking was added. It was on the other side of the bus loop, but it was contiguous with the property. It wasn't across the street.
Okay.
and it's being done it's being done 2 times in phase 2 as well. It is happening where there's been some real estate purchases.
You said what?
Real estate purchases of homes adjacent to school property to allow either for parking and or more playground space.
Okay, but they didn't do that here.
No.
But in the future,
Yeah.
perhaps, or, you know.
because there's 2 empty lots that are back to back across Post over to the next, whatever the next street is there.
So Monroe High is by far the biggest project in phase 2. It was 7 will have theirs, school, children's school number 1 in Cobb's Hill will have theirs. School Without Walls, they have a new gym, art room, they'll have theirs. And then of course 16.
Now, there had been a postcard that you folks sent out.
All right, that's this. So you can have those, and
Right.
I guess that would probably, if you want to have something for the Aberdeen Square Fair,
Yes, we do.
you know, because it has the schedule basically on the back.
Yeah, this would be great for having something. We'd like to have something that can be handed out.
I just brought it for the group tonight.
Yeah, we can get
For the
some
group
more.
tonight.
You have more somewhere?
Well, the school district printed those up.
Yeah, now
So
those
if you
got,
wanted those for the fair, then you would basically have to let me know
Look at
how
getting
many you
more.
think you
Okay.
would like to have them.
okay.
What, about 200?
Yeah, well, let's, when we get to looking at the fair here, do we have anything to report for School 19? Monique was here last time, and yeah, I got an email from her saying she would be here, but best laid plans, and I haven't heard from Joe. I've sent in, I guess that kind of, and School 44. I heard from Karen Lahr, and that what is written here is what she sent me. Sounds like the word they're getting from downtown is that they'll be there past 18-19 school year.
What's an SPED student, Jeff?
Special ed, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, it could be anything.
Yeah, but so there's some upheaval there. I hadn't heard that it was unsure whether Donna would be coming back or not. She's apparently been out for several months now, and I'll have to find out more.
Well, why can't they make up their minds? I mean,
What?
if you're a
What?
teacher, you need to know are you going to go there or you're not. The school district.
Well, you know, the word they've gotten is that the school will be open probably 2019, 2020 still, and nothing's been nailed down after that. I'm sure that they're still haggling over what they're going to do downtown, so it sounds like we've got 2 years to go that there'll be the current staff there, assuming that all the teachers don't jump ship because of all the uncertainty
Well,
that's
yeah.
been sown there for the last
What are they going to do
6
with,
years.
What are they going to do with that building?
Well, it's going to be in use. The thing is that the building is needed because of all the students that are coming into town from
Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, especially. You know, so they've had enough extra requirement for space that they can't really close that school. The big to-do that we had a few months ago was the district was saying, well, we're going to have path forward determinations. We've given them 3 options for a path forward, and they hadn't decided which path they were going to take yet, but then one of the chiefs went over to 44 and said, oh, you're going to be closing after 2019, I think, and that I think the word that they were planning was to have the school that's over at Freddie Thomas now, the other school.
Sciortino Street?
Yeah,
Montessori.
Montessori school, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Have that go to 44. At least some people heard that was what the plan was, but I think they reeled that back a little bit because they had jumped the gun of making a final decision before the initial decision was made.
Well, John, are they going to put all the children from Puerto Rico in one school?
No. But they need, of course, if you've got kids coming to the States who don't speak English, you do need to kind of put them in schools where you have some
bilingual.
Spanish teaching bilingual teachers.
Right.
It was easy when I came from Belgium and didn't speak a word of English. I was the only kid in the school that spoke French, you know, but when you got 30 kids in your classroom that don't speak English, it has some other requirements.
But that's such a segregating way of living. I mean,
Well, you know, it's hopefully a transition situation, and I hope that and I should talk more with folks involved with bilingual, but you know, you'd like to have the bilingual phase of it be a transition to get kids up to speed in English.
Right.
And there's always the danger that maybe it becomes a crutch but of course it's so hard when if there were 10 people speak French here, I'd probably be very tempted to fall into speaking French with them, you know, so that's one of the situations you have when you have a concentration of
but do we know how many students are coming from Puerto Rico?
what have they got, 200-300 families that came to the city, and how many students that translates into.
And they're distributed throughout the district, though.
Yeah.
So it's equal equity.
They're not just us.
Not just one
No.
school, so they're all
No.
over the district.
They're at our building too.
You got it?
OACES.
Yeah, and the challenge is that unfortunately we had the initial wave, but there's going to be another wave.
Another way, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a moving target.
I mean, now, how is it they would be coming to Rochester as opposed to some other place? Do we know?
Well, they are going everywhere. They're going other places as well. They're
No, I
not-
mean, I'm glad they're coming, but I mean,
There's, I guess, a fairly good concentration of Puerto Ricans in the
We do
Rochester
have our
area
bureaus,
anyway,
so we have people that are sensitive to their needs and can bring them and with welcoming arms and can support them
here,
here in Rochester.
good.
So,
Wilson Commencement.
Wilson Commencement. Just a quick couple of things going on at school before I get my XCATS thing. We became an application school.
What?
Application school 3 years ago.
What's that?
It means, well, basically, functionally what it means is anyone who's going to Wilson has to write a paragraph about why they want to go to Wilson. They have to look at the IB learner traits. There's 5 of them.
IV?
International Baccalaureate, IB.
Oh, IV.
And in their paragraph, they just have to say which one of those traits they think sort of suits them. So it's not like a barrier, there's a test or anything, it's just more something to help, you know, have kids understand what the school's about and think about how they be there. So the first year, we have about 150 50 slots in ninth grade. The first year we had 55 applicants.
150.
Yeah, the second year we had 122, and this year we had 255.
Wow.
So we're getting more and more applications, which is great, and more, which means you want kids in a school to want to be in the school,
Yeah.
not just to be stuck in the school for a reason. Another thing that's going on, 3 years ago, we had, I think, 5 ninth graders who, over the summer, challenged the Algebra 2 regents so they could take calculus as sophomores. And the calculus teacher said, if they didn't even have to get the 85, said as long as they did well enough that he was sure that they kind of had good enough understanding, he'd get them through. Last year we had 12. This year we have 45.
That what? Passed?
No, 45 that are gonna, over the summer, try to challenge either taking summer school or a home study to challenge the regents in order to be able to accelerate themselves in math. So I think that's a real cultural shift in terms of,
I don't want to study.
exactly, yeah, kids who
I
are
don't want to
motivated
study in the
to
summer,
do that extra thing in the summer. It's really great. Another thing that's going on right now, and maybe you guys, I don't know if you guys can talk about it, but there was some talk about bringing 7-8 into commencement and still keeping 7-8 down the street at Foundation, because I guess you guys are looking for places for 7th and 8th
Excuse me,
graders.
what's foundation?
Madison.
And it's called foundation?
Because it's a long historical story. but
Called Wilson Foundation.
Yeah.
Wilson Foundation is in the old Madison.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that-
in the new Madison,
In the-
depending how you look at it.
They rebuilt it. 200 Genesee
remember
is a
that.
brand new
Yeah.
Had a lovely
building.
pool.
Yeah.
Yep. So there was a lot of concerns. Our principal loves that age group, but we don't have any playground. We have limited outdoor space.
See?
Our building is from 1906 and is arguably an obsolete high school, and bringing middle schoolers into it is
Not good.
not good.
Is this
So-
Wilson we're talking about?
This is the old West High. So the district, I think, is going to at least put it off a year, and they're talking, I think, about doing some renovations if they're going to, because if they want to bring them in, it's fine. We just got to do it right, because you don't want.
What is
done
it,
wrong.
7th and 8th grade?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
If it's done right, it could work well. But, like I said, the building has some major issues in terms of how it's laid out, classroom sizes, all kinds of stuff. So it would take, I think it would, from what I understand, it would take some pretty major reconfiguring of things.
They don't have middle schools anymore? They stopped them?
Right.
Well, that's what the Wilson Foundation originally was supposed to be, was a middle school, and then
It's
they,
a great, beautiful building.
great building for that, but
Yeah.
then they overloaded it the first 2 or 3 years that they put middle school kids in
And
there.
they had problems,
And
didn't
they had problems, and then they redid it as K-12 or something.
K-8.
K-8. So it's.
You mean a middle school for an elementary school? In that
Yes.
place?
Yeah, so it's a
Long, torturous discussion.
different discussion. So that's just updates from Wilson. A lot of good things happening. And now I want to talk briefly about XCATs.
Yes.
What is XCAT?
Okay, anyone heard of XCATs?
I did,
Okay,
because I
a
heard
couple
your
people are.
spiel
So,
the other day.
I always ask that at the Southwest Common Council meeting that I went to last week. I asked, and almost no one had heard of it. But I went to tour Caltech with my son in Los Angeles.
He must be smart.
Anyone can tour it. You can get in. But our tour guide was a native of Los Angeles. He'd never traveled east of the Mississippi in his life. And he mentioned he was on a robotics team, and Aiden said, "Oh, I'm on a robotics team." He said, "What robotics team?" He said, "XCAT's 191. Oh, 2 times Chairman's Award winner. Wow. So this kid in Los Angeles knew about the XCATs. But if you talk to anybody in our neighborhood of the school, they wouldn't know what it was. And a big part of that reason is we've never been in the Southwest. We started off on Mustard Street across from the Transit Center off of East Main. Then we were at Hart Street sort of north of downtown.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're at Edison, which they initially put us there because there were 2 other robotics team they put there. And now Edison's is defunct, and
It is over with?
Edison's robotics team is no longer. And the citywide team, their main champion, unfortunately died this year, and so there's an uncertain future there too. And our space, Travis, is being remodeled, or they're doing structural repairs to the ceiling at Edison, so they're kicking us out for a year, we've been told. So, in all crises come opportunity. And so the XCATS mentors, which are mostly Xerox people, I'm a parent who does it also, and we've got a wonderfully diverse mentor pool.
Now, the XCAT's a Wilson.
And the XCATS were one of the 28 founding teams in the league. There's only 7 of those remaining. There's been over 7,300 teams worldwide that have been since then.
I still don't know what an XCAT is.
It's Wilson's robotics team.
Oh.
And they, so we're one of only 27 teams in the Hall of Fame. We're really well known all over. It's a great team.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have to have a full machine shop as part of our operation, where you could pretty much it's what Xerox used to use for prototyping all their new stuff. So we pretty much could build any kind of mechanical device you could imagine in this machine shop. But we only intensively use it about 6 to 12 weeks a year, because the robotics season is only so long. And so, again, sort of thinking about opportunities, and like you were saying with the School 16 having sort of the ability for maybe public space to be using, trying to have a facility somewhere in the Southwest that maybe we could have a makerspace for the Southwest, maybe even have like the beginning of an entrepreneur center or something where we could do business development or that kind of thing. I know there's a teacher at Wilson who has out of his garage, he manufactures pieces for Chevy Volts that sort of improve designs, and is incredibly busy. So there's all these little businesses that crop up with this kind of stuff.
Like Silicon Valley.
Kind of, yeah. And one of the things I've heard from people when I've been to meetings in the Southwest, it's a real issue that the young people don't see economic activity in the neighborhood that looks like it could be a path toward being a successful entrepreneur kind of person. So all those things could be things that would work.
Well, where would you do this?
Well, we don't know. We're early on. We're just talking.
How many square feet are you looking for?
I think it'd be at least 6,000.
6,000 square feet. So.
And our practice field is 54 by 27.
Where's that?
It's at Edison right now. At Edison right now, we have, Travis, do you know how big that space is at Edison?
I don't know exactly.
Probably 12,000 square feet altogether.
Is there something wrong with it down there?
Well, they're redoing it. They're redoing the structure of the roof. And we can retain middle-class kids all day long. They have parents like me who spend 12 hours a week in their car as a part-time job driving children from one place to another. Unfortunately, those are not the kids we really want to hang on to.
We want the
kids that we want the kids who are single-parent households, mom's working 2 jobs. We want that kid to be able to have as few barriers as possible to being in the XCATS. And our alumni, we've got one alum who grew up in Fight Village. His mom, single mom, didn't speak English, from Puerto Rico. And he went to Harvard. He actually had to choose between Harvard and MIT. We got another guy who was a middle-class kid. He now answers to the founders of Google. He's the head of cybersecurity for all of Google. As well as architects, and we got all kinds of different, but it's a really great program.
Great program.
But again, we want to get to those kids that can benefit most from it. And being in the Southwest would really help that. The other issue with Edison is there's not a great bus transportation in the evening there. And that's when we have our meetings. And so having the kids, like the kids who have to leave practice an hour early, which is not great for anybody. So
why would you have it in the Southwest?
Well, like I said, that's the discussion we're having. There's a lot of it vacant land.
Have you gotten a chance to talk to John Mott yet?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
No.
Somewhere around the U of R?
Ideally, I'd want to be on Genesee Street or around Genesee Street.
That's near the U of R.
It is.
Go just go across the bridge
Yeah.
and you're there.
But a couple blocks from Wilson would be better, within a few blocks, because ideally you want to be able to have kids after school.
It would be
able to
great
come
if
right
it's
down.
something that School 16 can use, School 10.
And our kids would
all
love
of
to
the
do
schools
like a
around here.
robotics program with kids from all of, because there's 6 primary schools within, only a few blocks of
Right.
Wilson. So if you could,
Genesee Street would put you right in the middle, and it
Yeah.
would increase walkability in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
and I was just listening to Evan Dawson about the RTS plans and Genesee Street is going to become I forgot what they called it, but there are going to be buses during peak hours every 15 minutes. And
On
off-peak every-
Genesee Street?
Yeah, and off-peak every 30. So that would be, excellent.
Who are
for
they picking up? Oh, the U of R kids?
people going to work.
Is
I mean,
this,
U of R is the largest employer in Rochester.
is this something that OACES might be interested in getting involved with?
No,
No?
no, not at all. And I think we need to move on because it's 10
Yeah.
after.
Okay, anyways. thanks
All
for
right,
the time.
No, I didn't.
We'll
I meant the question.
we'll get you back here to.
Yeah, I have a
to more-
longer thing, but yeah.
What is your
Kim-
name, sir?
Jeff
You, Jeff? Yeah.
Shortino, you wrote it.
Oh, yeah, you're right here.
Did you have anything from OACES?
Just that the open house was very successful. They used students to tour people around the building, gave it some really good visibility. A lot of people from central office came, and that we still have the architecture construction program, which would help you a lot with your minority recruitment. Youth 17 to 24. Our next class starts June 4th.
Are you publicizing this? I mean, not with us, but I mean with other people?
Yeah, this is just one place I'm doing that.
I mean,
And I have postcards.
Yeah.
I have flyers.
good.
Lots of them.
For
When I run out, I make more.
for Square Fair, do you have, Jeff, do you have anything in way of robot or something that isn't going to eat anybody, but that you can put on the table that we have at Square Fair to attract people? Because I think that would be great.
I'll work on logistics a little bit. If I get into the building, because we're doing a demo at Xerox tomorrow, and then I'm going to bring the robot back to Wilson. And so if I can get the robot from Wilson over to the area, we could even put it in the parade maybe, if I get some kids to walk.
Yeah, well, if they can go in the parade with those beautiful shirts they have, there's a site that, was it xcats.org? or-
Yeah, xcats.org.
Something to tell the community about, because it's really something that we should be proud of, and that we can, if we do it right, really make a difference. And we need to get more teachers to be talking with parents. You know, I don't recall which one of the teachers from 44 about 3 months ago said, well, she's been in the school there for 20 years, but she's never gone into the neighborhood, to eat at a restaurant or do anything. Teachers from these schools should be crawling all over Square Fair, getting to know people. One year, I think it was last year, had one student that saw their teacher, and she just lit up and came running over to the teacher who was right near our table, and they're hugging, and it was just such a beautiful thing to see. And that should happen time and time again at an event like this in the neighborhood, that teachers are mixing with the crowd.
We are still taking surveys for our branch facilities master plan project, so unfortunately I couldn't find any printed ones out there, but if you haven't taken it yet, it is on our website on the front page. It's rockcitylibrary.org, and it's right on the main page there. You may have to scroll down a little bit, but we're looking for community input on what the 10 branch libraries should be in the next 15, 20 years. Are we located in the right places? Do we need to be in different neighborhoods?